started doing He-Man?
Yeah, I started actually in the animation industry in 1978. I worked on Challenge of the Super Friends, the first thing I ever did. And then eventually I worked my way over to Filmation Studios, and in 1982, that's when we started on He-Man. And Mattel basically brought us the toys and said we need a storyline. Our writers came up with a storyline, and the rest is history.
And when you started doing it, did you know how big it was going to be or how long it would last? Or have any clue?
Well, the only clue we had was that the toys we knew were going to be a big hit, but I had never worked on a TV show that everybody knew what it was. I mean, I used to tell people I was an animator, and they'd say, "What shows do you work on?" And I'd say, you know, Thundar the Barbarian or something. And while the people in the know knew what that was, a lot of the parents didn't know. But as soon as I said He-Man, they were like, "Oh my gosh, my kids love the He-Man. They've got all the toys for Christmas." And so that really made it the biggest thing I probably ever worked on.
And now it's 30 years later and it's still popular. How does it make you feel having worked on it?
Well, like I said, we had no idea it was going to be this big to begin with. But to think that 30, 35 years later, I was going to be coming to comic conventions and people would ask for my autograph, it's a little surreal. I can kind of understand, because I used to be the kid over on that side asking Stan Lee or Jack Kirby for their autograph. So I understand how that works, but it's still weird being on this end, having people ask me for my autograph and to get pictures taken with me.
So which of the characters was your favorite to do from the He-Man property and from any of the Filmation properties?
Well, with He-Man, I probably like doing Orko the best, because it was a chance to not have to draw all of that musculature and all of the gadgets they had all over them. He was pretty much something that you could really animate really well. And the key was he didn't have any legs, so he just floated. You didn't have to do a walk cycle or anything with him. So he was the easier thing. And I always, whenever there was a good Orko scene, I like to ask the directors if I could do that one.
What about as far as any of the Filmation properties?
Well, I have a special place in my heart for a show called Blackstar. That was the first show that I was actually an animator on. I was an assistant animator up to that point, and I had been bothering the directors, showing them all my animation. I'd go in and film something and show them, and finally, after a couple of 6 months of that, they finally handed me my first batch of Blackstar and said, "Here's your first scenes, kid." And that kind of started me out as an animator, so that really is something that I enjoyed a lot.
Was it hard when a toy company had an input on characters and things like that?
Well, I think the only hard part was that all of these toys had so many gadgets all over them, and the more things you have to put on them, the harder it is to draw. And it just takes time. We call it pencil mileage. It's just your pencil has to go so far to complete a drawing. And that's when they finally did Batman Adventures with a really simplified Batman. It made it easier to animate it because you didn't have to worry about all the incidental stuff on the characters.
And so is there any other projects you work on now, or do you just come to conventions?
No, I'm pretty much doing conventions right now, and I'm living in Idaho. I officially retire next month, and but I'm going to keep doing the conventions because I really enjoy mingling with the fans and being able to kind of give back to the joy they brought me, being able to do this job.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.